Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Today we're going to be talking about proposed wage hikes.
Yeah, for domestic workers in South Africa.
Exactly, in 2025.
Mhm.
And we're going to be looking at an article from Business Tech, published December 18th, 2024.
Okay.
And this is a really interesting topic, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about the numbers.
No.
It's about livelihoods and,
Right.
economic balances and a lot more.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
So,
This is really a microcosm of larger labor dynamics and economic trends that are happening in South Africa.
right,
Domestic work is a cornerstone of their economy,
right.
and this proposed change could have a ripple effect across the entire country.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the National Minimum Wage Commission
Yes.
is suggesting an increase tied to CPI plus 1.5%.
Interesting.
So CPI, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
What is that?
right. It sounds a little complicated.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty simple. CPI stands for the Consumer Price Index,
Okay.
which basically tracks how the prices of everyday things change over time.
Okay.
So it's a measure of inflation.
Right.
So linking the minimum wage increase to CPI
Yeah.
helps ensure that workers' wages
Right.
keep up with that rising cost of living.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the article mentions that in November 2024,
Okay.
South Africa's CPI was 2.9%.
Right.
So doing some quick math,
Yeah.
that could mean a wage of around R28.50 per hour.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's a twist.
Oh, really?
It's not final.
Oh.
It all depends on what the CPI is in December 2024.
Ah.
So they use the CPI from 6 weeks before the new minimum wage takes effect,
Right.
which is March 1st, 2025.
Gotcha.
So we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for that December number.
Yeah, kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about who's behind
Yeah.
this National Minimum Wage Commission.
Right.
So who are they and why should we trust them?
Yeah. Well, they're not just some random group
Yeah.
making decisions in a vacuum.
Right.
It's actually a very diverse group
Okay.
with representatives from labor unions,
Uh-huh.
businesses, community organizations,
Okay.
and even experts on employment conditions.
Gotcha.
So having this mix of perspectives is really crucial because
Right.
it ensures that everyone's interests are being considered.
So they're kind of like referees trying to make sure
Yeah.
the game's fair for both players.
Exactly. Yeah, a good analogy.
But it's more than just suggesting numbers, right?
It is, yeah.
The article said they also have to investigate and report
Yeah.
on the minimum wage's actual impact.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
need to look at how the minimum wage affects the overall economy,
Right.
collective bargaining agreements,
Right.
and income inequality.
Gotcha.
So it's a big responsibility, and they have to consider a whole bunch of factors
Right.
before making a recommendation.
So speaking of those factors, the article lists a bunch.
A lot.
Inflation, cost of living,
Uh-huh.
maintaining the minimum wages value.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't stop there.
Really?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
They have to find a sweet spot between workers needing a living wage
Right.
and businesses needing to stay afloat.
Right.
So they also look at wage trends, GDP,
Mm-hmm.
employer sustainability,
Yeah.
impact on small businesses.
Okay.
And most importantly, they need to assess the overall effect on employment.
Right, because if a wage hike leads to job losses,
Exactly.
it defeats the whole purpose.
Exactly. It's a complex puzzle
Yeah, it really is.
where every piece is connected.
So wouldn't it be easier to just
Yeah,
set a high minimum wage and
Right.
call it a day?
it sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but not really. And this is where things get interesting.
Okay.
Because looking back at past decisions, you can see that the commission often seems to prioritize certain factors over others.
Okay.
For example, in 2023, when the economy was struggling,
Yeah.
they put more emphasis on employer sustainability
Right.
and job creation
Yeah.
than they did on workers' purchasing power.
Okay, so based on that,
Yeah.
what do you think they'll focus on this time around?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
The economy, it seems to be doing a little better now, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure.
Sure.
The global landscape is still pretty volatile.
Right.
But if I had to guess, I'd say they'll likely prioritize striking a balance
Mm-hmm.
between maintaining that minimum wages value
Right. Right.
in the face of inflation,
Yeah.
while also ensuring that businesses, especially small ones, can
Right.
absorb the increased labor costs.
Right. So it sounds like they're really
Yeah,
playing a delicate balancing act.
definitely.
So I know the current minimum wage in South Africa is R27.58
Yes.
an hour for most workers,
Uh-huh.
with a lower rate of R15.16 for those in the expanded public works program.
That's right.
But how does that compare to other countries?
That's a great question, and one that sparks a lot of debate.
Okay.
It's not just about comparing the numbers.
Right.
It's about considering the cost of living
Yeah.
and the overall economic context.
Sure.
So when you factor those in, South African domestic workers were actually among the lowest paid globally.
Wow. So this proposed wage hike isn't just a minor adjustment then.
No, it's not.
This could really impact a lot of people.
It has the potential to significantly impact the lives of many people.
Right. And we haven't even talked about
Yeah.
the ripple effects it could have on the South African economy as a whole.
Exactly. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll delve into that in just a bit.
Okay, sounds good.
For now, let's shift gears and talk about something else the article mentioned.
Okay, what's that?
The public comment period.
Right, right.
So the article said that ends on January 14, 2025.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that anyone
Okay.
can chime in with their 2 cents.
So really anyone can just give their feedback.
Yeah. This is where things get really exciting
Okay.
because the public comment period is a chance for everyone.
Uh-huh.
Domestic workers, employers, economists, even you listening right now,
Wow.
to share their perspective
Okay.
and opinions on this proposed wage hike.
Gotcha.
And this feedback helps the commission
Yeah.
make a more informed decision
Okay.
that reflects the needs and concerns of all stakeholders.
So it's like a giant brainstorming session
Exactly.
where everyone gets a voice.
I love that.
I love that too. But let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, does this feedback actually make a difference?
It absolutely makes a difference.
Really?
While the commission isn't obligated to follow every single suggestion,
Sure.
they do take public feedback very seriously.
Okay.
In fact, in previous years, public outcry has actually led to significant changes
Wow.
in the final minimum wage adjustments.
So it's not just for show.
No, not at all.
That's good to hear.
It means that people's voices can actually be heard
Right.
and can potentially shape the outcome.
Yeah. Okay. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So before we dive into like the impacts of this proposed wage hike,
Yeah.
let's just take a pause
Okay.
and recap what we've covered so far.
Sounds good. Okay, so we established that South Africa's National Minimum Wage Commission
Right.
is proposing a wage increase for domestic workers in 2025,
Mm-hmm.
tied to CPI plus 1.5%.
Right.
And that final figure hinges on the December 2024 CPI.
Yeah, a little cliffhanger.
We're all eagerly awaiting that.
Right.
And we've also talked about how the commission,
Yes.
this diverse group of representatives, has to weigh a complex set of factors,
Right.
like inflation, cost of living, employer sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
to find that sweet spot, between supporting workers and keeping the economy humming.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the potential consequences,
Right.
both intended and unintended, of this proposed wage hike.
Yeah. Where should we start with that?
Well, I think it's only fair we start with the people this directly impacts, the domestic workers themselves.
Right.
What could this increase mean for their daily lives and their families?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, on the face of it, a wage increase is good news.
Yeah.
It means more money in their pockets,
Right.
which could translate to better quality of life,
Mm-hmm.
improved access to healthcare and education,
Yeah.
and just a greater sense of financial security.
Especially in a country like South Africa,
Exactly.
where the cost of living has been steadily rising.
Right.
I can imagine this extra income could make a world of difference
Absolutely.
for families that are struggling to make ends meet.
A higher minimum wage can act as a buffer
Yeah.
against inflation.
Right.
It helps workers afford essential goods and services,
Okay.
empowering them to not just survive, but to thrive.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
But like we talked about earlier, there's always two sides to every coin.
Always.
So what about the potential impact on employers?
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
Could this lead to job losses?
Potentially.
I mean, in the domestic work sector,
Yeah.
could families be forced to let go of the help they rely on?
It's a very real concern.
Yeah.
For some households, particularly those with tight budgets,
Right.
a higher minimum wage might make employing domestic help unaffordable.
Right.
They might have to cut back on hours,
Uh-huh.
or in some cases, forego hiring altogether.
And that's the irony, right?
It is.
A policy aimed at helping workers
Yeah.
could inadvertently lead to job losses, which would hurt the very people it was meant to help.
Yeah, it's a catch-22.
It is.
It's a complex dilemma.
Yeah.
The commission has to walk this tightrope,
Yeah.
balancing the need for fair wages
Right.
with that potential impact on employment.
It's like Jenga.
Oh, I like that.
One wrong move,
Yeah,
and the whole tower comes crashing down.
that's a great analogy.
And this isn't unique to South Africa either, right?
No, it's not.
A global
It's a
issue.
global debate.
Yeah.
Countries all over the world are grappling with this challenge
Mm-hmm.
of ensuring fair wages without jeopardizing employment.
So are there any countries out there
Yeah.
that have found that magic formula?
There are some promising examples.
Okay, like who?
Take Germany, for instance.
Okay.
They implemented a system where domestic workers
Yeah.
are covered by social insurance,
Okay.
including health insurance and pensions,
Uh-huh.
which provides a safety net
Okay.
and reduces the burden on those workers.
So it's not just about wages then. It's
No.
a more holistic approach,
Exactly.
thinking about the workers'
Yeah.
well-being overall.
Exactly.
Any other examples?
Yeah, another interesting one is the Philippines,
Okay.
where they have a strong system of labor unions
Uh-huh.
for domestic workers.
Gotcha.
And these unions advocate for better wages, working conditions, legal protections,
Okay.
giving workers a collective voice
Yeah.
and bargaining power.
So it seems like these successful examples involve kind of a multi-pronged approach.
It does, yeah.
It's not just one thing.
No.
It's a combination of government policies,
Right.
social safety nets,
Yeah.
strong worker representation.
It's collaborative effort from
Yeah.
all stakeholders to find that sustainable path forward.
And speaking of stakeholders, the article mentioned that South Africa has this public comment period
Yes.
where anyone can share their thoughts and suggestions
Right.
on the proposed wage hike.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that kind of public engagement is valuable?
It's not just valuable, it's crucial.
Really?
The public comment period gives everyone a seat at the table,
Okay.
allows for a diversity of viewpoints to be heard,
Okay.
which can lead to more informed and nuanced decision-making.
So it's like crowdsourcing solutions
thing.
for a better future.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. I mean, does this feedback actually influence the commission's final decision?
It definitely has an impact.
Oh, wow.
While the commission isn't obligated to implement every suggestion,
Right.
they do genuinely consider public input. In fact, there have been instances where public outcry
Uh-huh.
has swayed their decision,
Wow.
leading to significant adjustments in that final wage proposal.
So it's not just a box-ticking exercise.
Not at all.
That's good.
It means that people's voices, even those who might not have a direct stake,
Yeah.
can contribute to shaping a fairer system.
Right.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of a democratic process.
Uh-huh.
It allows for collective wisdom to guide policy decisions.
Now let's shift our focus to the bigger picture.
Okay.
How could this proposed wage hike
Right.
impact the South African economy as a whole?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And there are both potential benefits and drawbacks to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
On the one hand, a wage increase could stimulate economic activity.
Okay, how?
Domestic workers have more disposable income.
Right.
They'll likely spend it,
Right.
boosting demand for goods and services
Mm-hmm.
across various sectors.
So it creates like a positive ripple effect,
You
not
could-
just for domestic workers, but the whole economy.
Yeah.
Exactly. A rising tide lifts all boats.
I like that.
However, some economists argue that a substantial wage hike could lead to higher prices
Right.
for goods and services,
Yeah.
fueling inflation.
Right. So again, it's like
It's that balancing act
that balancing
we
act.
keep coming back to.
Yeah, every potential benefit has a potential risk as well.
It's a complex web of interconnected factors.
It is, and it's not just about economic considerations either.
Right.
I mean, this discussion also raises social and ethical questions.
Absolutely.
Domestic work, despite its essential role
Yeah.
in society, is often undervalued and underpaid.
Unfortunately, that's true.
And I think this proposed wage hike,
Yeah.
regardless of the final outcome,
Yeah.
is shining a light on these issues
Uh-huh.
and starting these conversations
Absolutely.
about economic justice and the value of care work.
It's prompting us to examine our societal values
Yeah.
and consider what constitutes a fair and just system
Right, for all workers.
for everyone, regardless of profession. So it's clear this issue goes far beyond just numbers and economic projections.
Yes.
It touches upon fundamental questions about equality, fairness,
Yeah.
the kind of society we want to create.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial point.
Okay.
This deep dive isn't just about providing you with information.
Yeah.
It's about encouraging you to think critically,
Right.
engage these important conversations,
Yeah.
and form your own informed opinions.
I like that. So before we wrap things up,
Yay.
let's connect this discussion to some broader themes.
I like it.
What does this situation tell us
Uh-huh.
about the changing dynamics of the global labor market?
That's an excellent question.
Thanks.
We're seeing similar debates about minimum wage,
Yeah.
income inequality,
Yeah.
the value of essential work
Right.
all over the world,
Yeah.
globalization, automation,
Yeah.
the rise of the gig economy.
It's changing.
It's all changing.
Yeah.
These shifting dynamics are happening everywhere.
It's almost like we're in the middle of this global reevaluation of work itself.
I think so.
Yeah, what constitutes fair compensation?
Right.
Who deserves a living wage?
Yeah.
How do we balance the needs of workers with the pressures of a globalized economy?
Big questions.
Yeah.
Complex questions with no easy answers.
Right.
But by engaging in these conversations,
Yeah.
by examining these different perspectives, by learning from the experiences of other countries,
Right.
we can hopefully move towards a more just and equitable future of work
For everybody.
for everyone.
This has given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the final part
Okay.
of our exploration, let's just recap
Okay.
what we've learned. Okay, so
Sure.
we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, from the mechanics of this wage hike
Yeah.
to the ripple effects it could have on the South African economy
Right.
and even the ethical considerations.
Surrounding domestic work.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
And, that's the beauty of a deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just about skimming the surface.
Right.
It's about delving into those complexities, exploring those different perspectives.
Right.
And ultimately equipping you with the knowledge to form your own informed opinions.
Exactly. We're not here to give you the answers. We're here to empower you
Yeah.
to think critically and engage with these big conversations.
Absolutely.
But before we send you off
Yeah.
on your own intellectual adventures,
Yeah.
let's crystallize what we've learned
Okay.
from this exploration
That's good.
of this proposed wage hike
Yeah.
for domestic workers in South Africa.
So first and foremost,
Yeah.
we've seen that this is a multifaceted issue
Right.
with no easy solutions. It's about finding that delicate balance
Right.
between ensuring fair wages for workers
Yeah.
while also considering the impact on employers and the
Yeah.
broader economy.
Right. And we've explored how a wage increase, while potentially transformative
Yeah.
for workers' livelihoods,
Right.
could also have unintended consequences.
Yeah, like we talked about those job losses.
Exactly.
Which would ultimately undermine the very goal it was intended to achieve.
Right. And we even delved into some potential solutions
Yeah.
being implemented around the world,
Yeah.
like government subsidies, skills training programs,
Yes.
strengthening worker representation through unions.
Those are some great examples.
Yeah. And they highlight
Yeah.
that a collaborative approach involving input from all stakeholders
Right.
is really essential in finding that sustainable path forward.
It really is.
And we've also discussed how this debate extends beyond
Yeah.
just economic considerations.
Absolutely.
It's about social justice.
Yes.
It's about recognizing the inherent value of domestic work
Right.
and ensuring that all workers are treated with dignity and respect.
100%.
This proposed wage hike,
Yeah.
regardless of the final outcome,
Mm-hmm.
has ignited this crucial conversation in South Africa, and it's one that resonates with similar debates
Absolutely.
happening all around the world.
It is a global issue.
It is, and it's prompting us
Yeah.
to examine our own societal values,
Right.
to challenge existing systems, and to strive for a more equitable future of work.
For everyone.
Yeah, for everyone. So as we conclude this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's one key takeaway?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That you hope our listeners will walk away with. I want them to remember that their voices matter.
Yeah.
The public comment period is an opportunity to engage in this crucial debate,
Right.
share their perspectives,
Yeah.
and potentially influence the final decision.
Yeah.
It's a chance to contribute to shaping a fairer and more just system
For domestic workers.
in South Africa.
Yeah, beautifully said. This isn't just a spectator sport.
No.
It's a chance for all of us
Yes.
to participate in shaping a better future.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, I encourage you to continue exploring this topic. Stay informed about the developments.
Yes.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to voice your opinions.
Yes, speak up.
and contribute to the conversation.
Absolutely. Your voice matters.
And as you delve deeper,
Yeah.
consider this.
Okay.
How might this wage hike impact the broader South African economy?
That's a great question.
Especially those sectors that are heavily reliant on domestic work?
Uh-huh.
What are the long-term implications for labor relations, social equity,
Yeah.
and the future of work in South Africa?
Those are some great questions to ponder.
They are. This story is still unfolding.
It is.
And your insights and perspectives
Yeah.
are valuable in shaping this narrative.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.